Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're having a great day. Beautiful day here today, sunny and fairly warm even, so that's always good. But they said in the forecast we might get more snow, so I'm hoping they're wrong. But anyway, enjoy the weather while it's nice. So I wanted to talk a bit about some common fitness myths and try to clear some of that up for you. So there's a lot of myths out there and it can be really confusing. So I thought I'd talk about a few of the ones that I hear the most. Hi Diane, how's it going? Oh yeah, if we get snow, I'll definitely send it to you. Hey Ryan. So one myth that really bothers me because I hear this from women a lot is that they're afraid that lifting heavy weights will make them bulky, and it's not true. And we need to lift heavy weights because we need to be stressing our muscles so we get muscle growth and have more lean tissue on our bodies. Your metabolism will run better if you do. You'll feel better. You'll feel stronger. So, the myth that lifting heavy weights makes you bulky is wrong. So, don't be afraid of those heavy weights. Muscle is actually denser than fat. So, if you've got two people that weigh the same amount, but one has a higher amount of muscle on their body, the person with more muscle is going to appear smaller because muscle is more dense. So, the only way you might bulk up is if your diet is supporting weight gain. So if you're eating, more calories than your body needs, or if you're eating junk food and stuff like that, and you're keeping fat or creating extra fat on your body, then building muscle will make you look bigger because the fat actually sits on top of the muscle. So as long as you're eating clean, lifting with heavier weights, that's actually going to help you lose weight. So don't be afraid of the heavier weights. It's really good for you. And especially as we're getting older, we want to keep our muscle. We don't want our muscle to start to waste away. Next myth, I wish this one was true. I exercise every day so I can eat whatever I want. So unfortunately, that one's not true. So it's you can't out-exercise a bad diet. So if you are, working out really hard, but you're eating like crap, you're not going to get the results that you want to get. So you need to be eating proper foods. And I'm not saying, 100% of the time you have to eat clean, just the majority of the time. So sticking to real foods, fruits, vegetables, meats, things that actually exist in nature on their own. Staying away from processed stuff, staying away from chemical stuff that was made in a lab somewhere. Your body doesn't need that stuff. So you can't exercise and then give yourself a license to eat anything and everything. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And it comes down to calorie content as well. So if you're taking in way too many calories than your body can use, then those extra calories will get stored as fat. So you've got to eat clean, got to work out, still have to have, some days where you're easier on yourself and you let yourself have a treat or whatever. It's important to include that in your program, but just not the majority of the time. The majority of the time you want to be eating clean. The next myth, it's harder for women to lose weight than for men. Unfortunately, there is some truth to that one. So men, biologically, they carry more muscle, which means that their metabolisms run a little higher than women. So only about 5 to 10%, which isn't huge, but it is enough to give them kind of the upper hand. So if you and your guy decide to start a fitness program together, don't be surprised if he starts dropping weight quicker. Quicker, is that a word? I don't think it is. Quicker than you are. So, and don't get frustrated by that because just because it's coming off of you more slowly doesn't mean that you're not going to get to your goal and get to a healthy weight. So don't let it frustrate you. It'll happen because guys, for the most part, their metabolism is quicker. They carry more muscle. That's the reason why. So another good reason to lift those heavier weights to build more muscle. But it doesn't mean that all is lost. It doesn't mean that you're not going to hit your goal. You can. It's just going to take a little bit longer for us ladies to get there, but totally worth it, right? The other myth that really bugs me is all calories are equal, so it doesn't matter what you eat. Very much wrong, because you can eat, I always use this example. If you take two people and they're both on 1,500 calorie diets, and one person is eating 1,500 calories of real live foods and natural stuff, and you put them next to the person that's eating 1,500 calories of fast foods from restaurants. I won't name any names, but the ones I mean. you're going to have two completely different bodies, two completely different brains too. Usually people who are eating a lot of junk food, they're a little bit depressed as well, because it does affect your brain as well. So all calories are not equal. If they were, there'd be fewer people struggling with their weight, because quite often people will go on these lower calorie diets, but they're eating a lot of stuff that's chemical, and their body doesn't recognize it as real food, and they actually end up gaining weight. So you got to get quality calories. You have to eat real foods and feed your body properly. Eating fat will make me fat, so I think a lot of us remember the 80s when it was like this craze, like eating fat makes you fat, you got to cut all the fat out of your diet, and then up came all these foods, fat-free, low-fat, whatever. And what else happened? The obesity epidemic is what happened. So all of a sudden, obesity was at a huge rate, a much higher rate than before. People were putting on weight even though they were cutting out the fat, like what's going on here. So, you know, our bodies need fat. Our bodies do not function properly without fat, and that was proven very well in the 80s. I think a lot of us fell for that. I know for the longest time I was like fat phobic. Everything I got had to be fat-free or low fat, or I wouldn't touch it. And it messed with my health. So, yeah, you have to get those fats in your diet, but not all fats. So I'm talking like healthy fats. So staying away from trans fats. If you see hydrogenated on the food label, stay away from that, because that's just kind of a fancy word for trans fats, so stay away from that. But all natural fats like nuts and olives, olive oil, avocado, nut butters, that kind of thing. Salmon's another good source of really healthy fats. Making sure you get enough of those in your diet every day. Hey, Jansen, how's it going? Hi, Teresa. So make sure that you do get those healthy fats, and make sure that they're coming from real foods. So if it's processed stuff, then the fats in those foods are typically not healthy. But don't be afraid of fat. Oh, and good news is that butter is a natural fat, so it's okay to have butter. Don't be eating that margarine crap, because that's not going to do you any good. Better to have butter. Just, you know, watching portion sizes with fats, because they are calorie dense, so you could very easily take in a large number of calories in a short period of time if you're not watching your portion controls. But for most people, when you eat enough fat, you know that you're done, because you feel full. You feel way more full with fat. So Jansen, is that yay for butter? I'm assuming, yeah. Butter is good. So what's the next one? Oh, eating at night will make me gain weight. So that's one that a lot of us really believe, because it makes sense, right? You don't want to eat when you're not going to be active, so it just made sense that if you eat at night, you're going to put on weight. But really what it comes down to is how many calories you're consuming for that entire day. So if you're consuming way too many calories than your body can use, it doesn't matter what time of day it is, it's going to result in weight gain. The problem with late night eating for most people is that quite often they're doing it out of boredom or some other emotional reason, and they're kind of doing it mindlessly, so they're consuming more calories than they realize. And also quite often the late night choices are a little bit unhealthy, because again, a lot of it has to do with emotional eating rather than eating for hunger. So your body doesn't really know what time it is when it's eating. It's just the amount of calories in total. Valerie, bacon, yeah, bacon's awesome. I love it. So again, bacon, you know, it's a natural thing. It is high in sodium, so if you have any kind of issues where high sodium is not good for you, stay away from it. I'm sure you can find low sodium bacon, but again, that's a natural food. Like it's a meat, so your body knows how to process it, just as long as you're not eating a whole ton of it. Hey, Anne. Hi, Jennifer. So what's the next one? Oh, drinking ice cold water will help me drop pounds because it raises my metabolism. So a little bit of truth to this, it does, but only by about 50 calories a day. So it's really not very significant. You could burn an extra 50 calories a day, you know, just going for a leisurely walk or going up a flight of stairs sort of thing. So it's not a huge amount. It's enough for people to say, oh yeah, it raises your metabolism, you burn more calories, because there is truth in that. It's just they're not telling you that it's only 50 calories, which, you know, that's not very hard to burn off anyways. How many calories are you supposed to take in a day? Well, it depends on your activity level. So if you're completely sedentary, no lower than 1,200 for the typical person. If you go too low, your metabolism does start to slow down so that it can conserve calories and energy so it doesn't die because it senses as starvation. So no lower than 1,200 for sedentary. And then if you're active, you're going to need to eat more calories to support your activity. So for women, typically like 1,500 to about 2,000, maybe a little more. I probably go over that just because I teach 2 or 3 classes a day, so I have to take into account the amount of energy I'm burning with that because I don't want to let my energy drop too low. So you do have to take that into account. Guys are usually, I believe, 2,000 to 2,500 for the typical active person. So, you know, you don't want to go too high, but you don't want to go too low either because that will have detrimental effects. I'm not a big fan of calorie counting, mostly because I was obsessed with it when I was younger, and it just got to be like too much of an obsession and just got to be really unhealthy. So now I don't count calories. I look more at portion sizes and which macronutrients I'm eating. I know for myself, I go a little higher on protein because I do some strength training, and my body seems to do well with a higher protein intake. For others, you know, they might need more carbs. So if you're doing a lot of cardio, you might need a little more carbs in your diet. So it really does depend on the person and what they're doing. So that would be something where I would talk one-on-one with somebody and find out, you know, exactly where they're at, you know, what weight they are, what they're trying to do, their goals are, what their activities are, and then taking all of that into account and then designing a nutrition program that would support that. Valerie, you don't count calories either. Yeah, it just becomes an obsession, and it can be terrible. Like when I was like a little kid, like I knew the calorie count in everything. I'm talking like when I was like 8, 9 years old. So that was, you know, that not a healthy attitude towards food. And when I finally got over all of that stuff, I was like, I am never counting a calorie again. But I do watch portion sizes. That's more important for me. And also how I'm feeling as well. So if I notice my energy is really low, or I notice I'm getting sick a lot, I'm feeling really run down, then I know I need to up something in my diet to make up for that, or cut down on teaching so many classes, one or the other. Next one, weight gain and belly fat are unavoidable after 40. I sure hope not. So typically, we do start gaining more weight around the age of 40. It has more to do with hormonal levels than anything else. And it can be very frustrating. I have clients that are very frustrated with that. But it doesn't mean that you're doomed. It doesn't mean that you cannot lose that weight. You can. You just have to be a little cleaner with your eating for sure. So, you know, eating a clean diet that supports building lean mass and losing fat mass. And exercising properly. And this is where weight training really comes into the picture for women in particular. So when you're losing muscle, if you lose muscle, your metabolism does start to slow down a bit. So you want to maintain and ideally build some more muscle as you're getting older and getting, you know, past your 40s and stuff like that. So really important to include strength training. And then again, you know, looking at your diet, figuring out what works and what doesn't work for you. So your body's changing and it's on a hormonal level. So you kind of have to let your body be your guide, trying different styles of eating, see what your body, you know, reacts best to, gets the best results from. You probably won't be able to eat like you used to when you were in, you know, your 20s, even your 30s, and that can be frustrating. But you know what's important to you. If it's important to you that you don't put on that weight, or maybe you have put on that weight and you're, you know, worried about your health because it is an unhealthy place, your belly, to carry extra weight, then you make some changes, and you make small changes until you're comfortable with them, and you make some more small changes until you're comfortable with them. And, you know, you can definitely avoid that for sure. And I know a lot of people, you know, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you know, and they're fine. Like they haven't had that weight issue, and they're active, and they do stuff like strength training. So again, coming back to the importance of keeping muscle and building muscle as we're getting older. So that's all the ones that I kind of thought about for today to talk about. If you have any myths that you were curious about and you want to ask me, feel free to leave a comment. My body is guiding me the wrong way, Diane. Yeah, I can feel like that. I know. Yeah, it's a frustrating time for sure. It's best if you can like sit down with a nutritionist and really talk to them about what's going on and try to get on a plan that's going to work for you. And everyone's going to be a little bit different, but with patience and making small changes, the outcome will be worth it for sure. So hope that helps. I gotta go. A friend of mine is coming by. We're gonna go and get a quick coffee, and then I have another class tonight, so I got some stuff to get ready for. So if you have any questions, leave a comment, and I can always talk about them on another one of these live things. This article will be on my blog, so if you want to read it more closely, it'll be on the blog, holyfit.ca. And as always, you can contact me anytime. All right, have a great evening, guys. Bye.